The alarm bells rang through Kepler Station like the screams of dying stars. Senior analyst Zix Thera's 4 eyes widened as she stared at her detection screen. The readings made no sense. Nothing should be moving in Sector 7 null. Nothing could be moving there. Zix Thara belonged to the Hegemony Detection Corps, one of the most important jobs in the galaxy. Her species, the Veltar, had excellent eyesight and quick minds. This made them perfect for watching the dark spaces between stars. For 300 years, her people had monitored the forbidden zones that surrounded civilized space. Sector 7. Null was the worst of them all. The dead zone, as everyone called it, stretched across 17 light years of twisted space. Ancient wars had torn reality apart there. Gravity moved in impossible directions. Radiation storms could melt steel in seconds. Time itself moved strangely in some places. No ship had entered the dead zone and returned for over 3,000 years. The last expedition had been 12 battleships from the mighty Vaxon Empire. They had vanished without sending a single message back. But now something was moving through that cursed space. Something big. Zixathera checked her instruments again. The readings stayed the same. A large object moved through the radiation storms like they were gentle rain. Energy readings showed it was definitely a ship, but the power signature matched. Nothing in the galactic databases. "Supervisor Korth," she called across the monitoring bay. "I need you to see this." Supervisor Korth rolled over on his hover pad. The massive slug-like being examined her screen with small, intelligent eyes. Korth was old, even for his long-lived species. He had seen strange things in space before, but his skin changed from calm blue to worried purple as he looked at the readings. "This cannot be right," Korth said in his slow, careful voice. "Run full diagnostics on your equipment." Zix Thara had already done that 3 times. "All systems, working perfectly, sir. The contact is real." Other analysts had noticed the commotion. They gathered around Zix Thera's station. The monitoring bay held beings from 12 different species. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were made of living crystal. But they all showed the same expression of disbelief. "Perhaps it is debris from an old battle," suggested Nexara, a bird-like Spirian. "Something finally breaking free from a gravity well." Korth shook his massive head. "Debris does not broadcast radio signals." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at Zix Thara's screen. She adjusted the sensors to focus on the radio transmissions coming from the mystery ship. What they heard made no sense at all. Music filled the air. Not the complex harmonic structures that civilized species enjoyed. This was primitive, raw sound with heavy rhythms and something that might have been singing. Between the musical transmissions came voices speaking in an unknown language. The words were sharp and quick, nothing like the careful diplomatic languages used in galactic space. "What species makes sounds like this?" whispered Technon, a crystalline being whose race communicated through light patterns. Nobody had an answer. The ship continued moving through the dead zone. According to the sensors, it was heading directly toward the galactic core. Its path would take it through the worst radiation storms in known space. Any normal ship would be destroyed in minutes, but this vessel seemed to ignore the deadly environment completely. "Contact Senior Command immediately," Korth ordered. "Priority, 1 emergency." While Zixathara sent the alert, the other analysts watched the impossible ship. It was huge, easily the size of a hegemony battlecruiser, but its design was completely alien. The hull looked rough and angular, not like the smooth curves preferred by most spacefaring races. Strange protrusions stuck out from various points. The ship seemed to have been built by someone who cared more about function than beauty. "Look at this," called out Remtar, a reptilian saurid. He was the station's expert on ship design. "The energy output is enormous, but the technology is primitive. They are using some kind of fusion reaction for power." "Fusion?" Nexara laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Nobody has used fusion drives for 5,000 years. Quantum cores are 100 times more efficient. That is what the readings show, Remtar insisted. Controlled nuclear fusion on a massive scale. How they achieve faster-than-light travel with such technology I cannot understand. The mystery deepened as more data came in. The ship was not following any known hyperspace lanes. It moved through dimensions that should have torn any vessel apart. Yet somehow, it held together and continued on its impossible journey. Senior Command responded quickly to the alert. Admiral Vextar himself appeared on the communication screen. The ancient Veltar was one of the most respected military leaders in the galaxy. His scarred face showed the wisdom of countless battles. "Report!" Admiral Vextar demanded. Korth explained the situation while Zix Thera fed the sensor data to Senior Command. They watched in real time as the unknown ship passed, through a radiation storm that should have killed every living thing aboard. The vessel emerged undamaged and continued toward the galactic core. "This is impossible," Admiral Vextar said after reviewing the data. "No known technology can survive those conditions. Are you certain your readings are accurate?" "We have triple-checked." "Everything, sir," Korth replied. "The contact is real. It is moving through the dead zone, as if the hazards do not exist." Admiral Vextar was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, Zixthara could see other military officers studying their own screens. The news was spreading through the command structure, like wildfire. "Continue monitoring," the Admiral finally ordered. "I want constant updates on this vessel's position and status, and contact the other monitoring stations. See if anyone else is detecting this impossible ship." The communication ended, leaving the Kepler station crew to watch and wonder. Hours passed as the mystery ship continued its journey. The radio transmissions never stopped. Sometimes it was music, sometimes voices talking in that strange, quick language. Occasionally they heard what sounded like laughter. "They seem happy," Nexera observed. "Whatever is on that ship, they are not afraid." This was perhaps the most disturbing part of all. Any sensible crew would be terrified to find themselves in the dead zone. They would be sending distress calls and trying desperately to escape. But these unknown beings seemed to be treating their passage through deadly space as just another day of travel. Reports came in from other monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Every long-range sensor array had detected the same impossible ship. The readings were identical everywhere. This was not a mistake or a technical error. Something was really moving through the most dangerous region of known space, and it was doing so with casual ease. The Spirian Science Council sent a message requesting all available data. The Ethereal Collective wanted to study the radio transmissions. Even the isolationist Harmony Worlds expressed interest in this unprecedented event. For the first time in centuries, every major civilization in the galaxy was focused on the same thing. "How long until it exits the dead zone?" Korth asked. Remtar calculated the ship's speed and trajectory. "At current velocity, approximately 18 standard hours, it will emerge near the Frontier Relay Station." The Frontier Relay Station sat at the edge of civilized space. It was a small facility, mainly used for monitoring deep space communications. The station was not equipped to handle first contact with an unknown species, especially one that had just accomplished the impossible. As the hours passed, more details emerged about the mystery ship. It was definitely carrying living beings. Thermal readings showed hundreds of life signs scattered throughout the vessel. But the life forms were small and warm-blooded, unlike most spacefaring species. Their body temperatures were much higher than normal, which should have been deadly in the cold of space. The ship's construction also remained puzzling. It appeared to be made mostly of metal alloys that were strong but primitive. No energy shields protected the hull. No defensive weapons were visible. The vessel looked like it had been built by a species that was brave to the point of being foolish. "They have no idea how dangerous that region is," Technon observed. "They are flying through the dead zone like it is empty space." This raised an important question. If these beings did not know about the dangers, where had they come from? Every civilized species in the galaxy knew about the dead zone. It was marked on all star charts as absolutely forbidden territory. Parents told children scary stories about the twisted space and the ships that vanished there. But somehow, this unknown vessel had entered the most feared region in the galaxy without hesitation. Its crew seemed unaware that they were doing anything unusual. They continued broadcasting their primitive music and strange conversations as if they were on a normal journey between peaceful worlds. Perhaps they are from the Outer Rim, suggested Nexara, some forgotten colony that lost contact with the galaxy long ago. Korth considered this possibility. The Outer Rim was surveyed completely 2,000 years ago. No habitable worlds exist there. Then where did they come from? Nobody had an answer to that question. The mystery ship had appeared from deep space, heading toward the galactic core. Its point of origin was impossible to determine. It was as if the vessel had simply materialized from nothing and decided to take the most dangerous route possible to reach civilization. The radio transmissions continued throughout the night cycle. The monitoring staff took turns listening to the strange sounds. Gradually, they began to recognize patterns in the alien language. Some words were repeated often, others seemed to indicate emotions or reactions to their environment. "They sound curious," Zixthara said after listening for several hours. "Not afraid, not aggressive, just interested in what they are seeing." This was perhaps the most human-like quality they had observed, though none of them knew what the word human meant yet. The unknown beings seemed to approach their impossible journey with wonder rather than fear. They broadcast their music and conversations as if they were tourists on a sightseeing trip. As the mystery ship neared the edge of the dead zone, tension grew throughout the galaxy. Every major government had been notified. Emergency sessions were being called. Military forces were quietly moving toward the frontier relay station, just in case this unknown species proved hostile. But the vessel showed no signs of aggression. It continued broadcasting its peaceful signals and maintained a steady course toward civilized space. If these beings wanted to attack the galaxy, they had chosen a very strange way to do it. "Contact in 6 hours," Remtar announced. The mystery ship was about to exit the dead zone and enter normal space. Soon, the galaxy would have its first chance to communicate with the impossible beings who had just accomplished what everyone thought could never be done. Zixthara stared at her screen and wondered what would happen next. In all her years of monitoring the dark spaces between stars, she had never seen anything like this. The universe was about to become a much stranger and more interesting place. The ship continued its steady approach toward the edge of the dead zone, carrying its mysterious crew toward their first meeting with galactic civilization. Behind them, the twisted space of Sector 7 Null remained as deadly as ever. But somehow, these unknown beings had passed through it as easily as flying through an empty star system. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Hegemony had not seen such chaos in over 800 years. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a symphony of confusion and fear. Emergency sessions were rare. Emergency sessions called because an unknown ship had survived the dead zone were unheard of. Ambassador Kretal of the Vaxan Empire stood at his delegation's platform, his massive form towering over the other representatives. The Vaxans were warriors by nature, bred for battle across 1,000 worlds. Their scaled hide could stop energy weapons, and their strength was legendary. But even Kretal seemed shaken by the reports from Kepler Station. "This is clearly some kind of elaborate deception," Kretal declared, his voice booming across the chamber. "No vessel can survive passage through Sector 7 Null. We lost 12 of our finest battleships to that cursed region. Ships with shields..." that could withstand starfire, weapons that could crack planets, crews trained from birth for war, all destroyed without a trace. The Vaxon ambassador slammed his clawed fist on the podium. Someone is playing games with us. Perhaps the Ethereal Collective has developed new holographic technology, or maybe the Harmony Worlds are testing some kind of psychological weapon. Whispers of agreement came from several military-focused delegations. The idea that an unknown species could simply fly through the dead zone was too impossible to accept. It had to be a trick of some kind, but High Scholar Timinara of the Ethereal Collective rose to respond. The Ethereals were beings of pure thought, their physical forms appearing as shimmering clouds of light. They were the galaxy's greatest scientists and philosophers, dedicated to understanding the universe through careful study and reason. Honored colleagues, Timnara's voice resonated with harmonic frequencies. We have examined all available data from 17 different monitoring stations. The readings are consistent across multiple detection methods. This is not a hologram or illusion. A physical vessel has indeed traversed the dead zone. The Ethereal's form flickered with colors that indicated deep concern. More disturbing is the vessel's apparent immunity to the zone's hazards. Our calculations show that any known form of shielding would fail within minutes of entering that region. Yet this ship has traveled through the worst storms and emerged undamaged, Chancellor. Morden of the Harmony Worlds spoke next. The Harmony Worlds were known for their peaceful nature and diplomatic skills. They had not fought a war in over 2,000 years, preferring to solve conflicts through negotiation and understanding. Perhaps, Chancellor Morden said in his gentle voice, this vessel belongs to a lost exploration mission. During the Great Expansion, many ships were sent into the unknown regions. It is possible that one survived and is now returning home. This suggestion brought scoffs from the military delegations. Admiral Voss of the Hegemony Defense Force was particularly dismissive. The admiral was a career military officer who had spent his life defending civilized space from various threats. No exploration vessel was ever equipped to survive the dead zone, Admiral Voss stated firmly. We have records of every major expedition launched in the past 5,000 years. None of them carried the technology necessary for such a feat. The way Admiral activated a holographic display showing the dead zone's hazards. Radiation levels 1,000 times what any living being can survive. Gravity fields that can crush a battleship like an empty shell. Time distortions that can age a crew to death in seconds. Even our most advanced ships avoid this region completely. The display showed the mystery ship's path through the zone. It had passed through areas marked in red as completely lethal. The vessel had traveled for hours through conditions that should have destroyed it instantly. Whatever this ship is, Admiral Voss concluded, it represents technology far beyond our understanding. We must assume it could be a threat. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued for immediate military action. Others wanted to establish communication first. A few suggested hiding and hoping the unknown ship would simply pass by without noticing civilized space. Elder Sekvar of the Ancient Order spoke rarely in council sessions. His species was among the oldest in the galaxy, with records stretching back 12,000 years. When he did speak, everyone listened carefully. In all our recorded history, Elder Sekvar said slowly, only one other event compares to this. The arrival of the Devourers 3 millennia ago. They too seemed to ignore natural laws. They traveled through black holes as if they were empty. Space! They consumed entire star systems without explanation. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the story of the Devourers. They had appeared from the galactic rim, spreading destruction across hundreds of worlds. It had taken the combined might of all known civilizations to stop them. The war had left scars that still mark the galaxy today, including the dead zone itself. Are you suggesting this ship belongs to the Devourers? Asked Chancellor Morden, his peaceful demeanor showing cracks of worry. Elder Sekvar considered the question carefully. The Devourers were destroyed. We made certain of that. But they came from beyond our understanding, just as this vessel has. We should not ignore the possibility of a connection. Ambassador Kretal slammed his fist again. Then we must act immediately. If there is even a chance that this ship serves the Devourers, we cannot allow it to reach populated space. Send the fleet. Destroy it while we still can. High Scholar Tim Nara objected strongly. We have no evidence of hostile intent. The vessel broadcasts what appears to be cultural transmissions, music and conversation. This does not match Devourer behavior patterns. The Devourers were masters of deception, Kretal countered. They could appear as anything they chose. Pleasant music could be psychological warfare. The debate grew more heated as different factions argued their positions. The military delegates wanted immediate action. The scientific delegations demanded more study. The diplomatic corps urged patience and communication. While the council argued, more reports arrived from monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The mystery ship had been detected by sensors as far away as the outer spiral. Every long-range array in civilized space was tracking its progress. The ship itself seemed unaware of the massive attention it was receiving. It continued broadcasting its strange transmissions, maintaining a steady course toward the galactic core. Analysis of the radio signals had revealed more puzzling information. The transmissions contain mathematical concepts, reported Science. Director Velma's. Basic mathematics, but expressed in ways we have never encountered. They count in base 10, using simple addition and subtraction. Their language structure is unlike anything in our databases. This was significant because all known intelligent species used similar mathematical principles. The laws of physics were universal, so mathematical understanding tended to follow predictable patterns. But these transmissions showed a completely different approach to expressing numerical concepts. They also broadcast what appears to be entertainment, Velmas continued. Stories, music, and something that might be historical records. None of it matches any known cultural patterns. The cultural broadcasts were perhaps the most puzzling aspect of the whole situation. If this was a military vessel on a mission of conquest, why would it broadcast entertainment? If it was an exploration ship, why wasn't it sending formal diplomatic messages? Maybe they do not know we exist, suggested Representative Tulara of the frontier colonies. Perhaps they are, simply traveling through space, unaware of our civilization. This possibility had already been considered by the intelligence analysts. The ship's course would take it through several populated star systems. If it maintained its current heading, it would pass close to major trade routes and planetary colonies. Impossible, Admiral Voss declared. Any species capable of faster-than-light travel must have detection equipment. They would know about our settlements and shipping lanes. But the more they studied the mystery ship's behavior, the more it seemed like the crew really was unaware of galactic civilization. The broadcasts showed no knowledge of established space lanes or diplomatic protocols. The vessel flew as if it were alone in the universe. As the debate raged on, time was running out. The ship was approaching the edge of the dead zone. Soon it would emerge into normal space, near the frontier relay station. First contact protocols would need to be activated, whether the Council reached a decision or not. Chancellor Mordun made a formal proposal. I move that we attempt peaceful communication first. Send a diplomatic message on standard frequencies. If the vessel responds positively, we can establish dialogue. If it proves hostile, our military forces will be ready to respond. Ambassador. Kretal objected immediately. Foolish! If this ship survived the dead zone, our weapons may be useless against it. We should strike first, while we still have the advantage of surprise. The vote was close, but diplomacy won by a narrow margin. The Council authorized the transmission of a formal first contact message to the mystery ship. The message would be broadcast in the 7 most common galactic languages, along with mathematical concepts and peaceful imagery. But military forces would be positioned nearby, just in case. 3 battle fleets were quietly moved toward the frontier region. If peaceful contact failed, the galaxy would be ready for war. As the council session ended, representatives returned to their ships and embassies to brief their home governments. The news would spread across civilized space within hours. Every world would know that something impossible had happened in the dead zone. Some species began evacuating border colonies, others reinforced their military defenses. A few philosophical races started debating what this event meant for their understanding of the universe itself. The mystery ship continued its steady approach toward civilized space, unaware that its mere existence had thrown the galaxy into chaos. In a few hours, it would emerge from the dead zone and face the combined attention of 47 different civilizations. The universe was about to become a much more complicated place. On Kepler Station, senior analyst Zix Thara continued monitoring the approaching vessel. The ship showed no signs of slowing down or changing course. Its radio transmissions continued uninterrupted, broadcasting music and conversations in that strange, quick language. "Whatever happens next," she said to Supervisor Korth, "nothing will ever be the same again." Korth nodded his massive head slowly. "Indeed. We are about to discover whether the universe still holds surprises for us old civilizations. The mystery..." Ship flew on through the deadly void, carrying its unknown crew toward their first encounter with galactic society. Behind them, the dead zone remained as lethal as ever. But somehow, these impossible beings had made it look as easy as crossing an empty parking lot. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen next. The Frontier Relay Station was not built for making history. The small facility orbited a dead moon at the edge of civilized space, its crew of 30 beings responsible for monitoring deep space communications and maintaining the automated beacon network. Station Commander Kellanara had expected to spend her posting in peaceful boredom, watching for the occasional merchant ship or scientific expedition. Instead, she found herself at the center of the most important event in galactic history. The mystery ship emerged from the dead zone like a ghost becoming solid. One moment, the long-range sensors showed empty space. The next, a massive vessel appeared, its hull scarred but intact after its impossible journey through hell itself. "All stations, prepare for first contact protocols," Commander Kelnara ordered, though her voice trembled slightly. The Spirian had never imagined she would be the first to greet an unknown species. The diplomatic message had been prepared by the best linguists in the galaxy. It contained mathematical concepts, peaceful imagery, and formal greetings in 7 different languages. The transmission began broadcasting automatically as soon as the mystery ship entered normal space. For several minutes, nothing happened. The unknown vessel continued on its original course, showing no sign that it had received the message. Its own radio broadcasts continued unchanged, filling space with that strange music and rapid conversation. Then everything changed. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Endurance," came a voice speaking in broken but understandable galactic standard. "We're looking for intelligent life. Please respond if you can hear this message." The Frontier Relay Station fell silent. Every being on duty stared at their communication equipment in disbelief. The unknown species had responded. They spoke Galactic Standard, though with an accent unlike anything in the databases. And they claimed to be from a world called Earth, Commander. Kelnara activated the reply channel with shaking hands. "Unknown vessel Endurance, this is Frontier Relay Station acknowledging your transmission. Welcome to civilized space. I am Commander Kellanara of the Galactic Hegemony. We have been monitoring your approach with great interest." The response came quickly, spoken in that same, strange accent. "Thank you, Commander. This is Captain Chen. We're explorers from Earth, located in what you probably call the Outer Spiral region. We've been traveling for 73 years looking for other intelligent species. We're very happy to finally meet you." 73 years. The number hit the station crew like a physical blow. These beings had been traveling through space. for nearly a human lifetime, searching for contact with other civilizations. They had crossed thousands of light years, passing through the most dangerous region in known space, all to find intelligent life. Captain Chen, Commander Kelnara said carefully, you have traveled through a region we call the Dead Zone. This area is considered extremely hazardous. How did your vessel survive the passage? There was a pause before Captain Chen responded. Dead Zone? We detected some unusual gravitational fields and radiation storms, but nothing our shields couldn't handle. Are you saying that region is dangerous? The casual way she dismissed the Dead Zone's hazards left the station crew speechless. Nothing the shields couldn't handle? The most lethal region in known space was just rough weather to these humans? Captain Chen, Commander Kelnara continued, that region has destroyed every vessel that has entered it for over 3,000 years. Our most advanced battleships avoid it completely. How is this possible? Another pause. Well, we did have to reroute power to the forward deflectors a few times, and the radiation made the coffee taste funny. But our ship is built pretty tough. We've been through worse storms in the Tau Ceti system. The humans spoke about surviving the dead zone like it was an inconvenience. The radiation that could melt battleship armor had only affected their beverage quality. The gravity fields that could crush cities were just navigation hazards. Word of the contact spread through the galaxy at light speed. Emergency communication channels carried the news to every major world. The impossible had happened. Not only had an unknown species survived the dead zone, they had done it casually while searching for intelligent life. On the hegemony capital world, Admiral Voss studied the communication transcripts with growing amazement. These humans displayed technology that should not exist. More importantly, they seemed completely unaware of how remarkable their achievements were. They speak as if crossing the dead zone is normal, Admiral Voss said to his staff. Either they are lying, or their understanding of physics is completely different from ours. The Ethereal Collective had reached similar conclusions. High Scholar Tim Nara reviewed the sensor data from the human ship with fascination and concern. The vessel's energy signatures defied all known principles of engineering. Their power source appears to be controlled nuclear fusion, Tim Nara reported to the Scientific Council. But they achieve energy outputs that should require quantum cores. Either our instruments are wrong, or these humans have found ways to make primitive technology work like advanced systems. The human ship itself was a marvel of impossible engineering. It was large, roughly the size of a hegemony cruiser, but built like no other vessel in the galaxy. The hull was thick and angular, designed to withstand tremendous punishment rather than avoid it. Strange protrusions and antenna arrays covered the surface, giving it a rough, functional appearance. It looks like it was built in a scrapyard, observed Chief Engineer Rultas, but the structural integrity readings are off the charts. That hull could probably survive a direct hit from a plasma cannon. As communication continued, more details emerged about these impossible humans. Earth was located in a region that galactic charts marked as uninhabitable frontier space. No advanced civilization should have been able to develop there. The area was filled with rogue asteroids, unstable stars, and various hazards that made colonization impractical. But the humans had not only survived in that hostile environment, they had thrived. Captain Chen mentioned that Earth was home to several billion of her species. They had spread to other worlds in their local system and had launched multiple exploration missions to distant stars. How many ships like yours are traveling through space? Commander Kelnara asked during one of their conversations. Oh, about a dozen colony ships and maybe 20 exploration vessels, Captain Chen replied casually. We launched them in different directions over the past century. They're all looking for habitable worlds and intelligent life just like us. The galaxy collectively shuddered. 32 human ships were scattered across space, all carrying these impossible beings who treated the deadliest regions as minor inconveniences. Some of those ships could be approaching other civilizations right now. Emergency meetings were called on every major world. Military forces were placed on high alert. If the humans were hostile, their apparent immunity to conventional hazards could make them unstoppable. But Captain Chen and her crew showed no signs of aggression. "We're explorers and scientists," Captain Chen explained when asked about human intentions. "We just want to learn about the galaxy and maybe establish trade and cultural exchange. Earth has always been curious about what's out there among the stars." The humans seemed genuinely peaceful, but their casual treatment of impossible situations was deeply unsettling. They spoke about traveling through black hole systems like it was routine. They mentioned mining operations on worlds with surface temperatures that could melt steel. Their home system apparently included several gas giant moons that they had terraformed for agriculture. "Captain Chen," Commander Kelnara asked, "how do your people survive in such extreme environments?" "Oh, you adapt," came the cheerful reply. "Humans are pretty good at making the best of tough situations. We've been dealing with hostile environments since we first left Africa 50,000 years ago. Space is just the next frontier." The human vessel requested permission to approach the frontier relay station for direct face-to-face contact. This created another crisis for galactic diplomacy. First contact protocols required extensive preparation, medical screening, and cultural exchange procedures. The process usually took months to complete safely, but the humans had already shattered every first contact protocol by surviving the impossible and broadcasting friendly messages in galactic standard. Commander Kelnara found herself making decisions that would affect the entire galaxy. "Permission granted, Captain Chen," she finally replied. "Please approach slowly and transmit your biological requirements. We'll prepare appropriate meeting facilities." The human ship moved with surprising grace for such a massive vessel. It took a parking orbit near the station, close enough for detailed scans, but far enough away to avoid accidents. The humans immediately began broadcasting detailed information about their biology, technology, and culture. What the galaxy learned was both fascinating and terrifying. Humans were carbon-based life forms, similar to several known species, but with some unusual characteristics. They were remarkably durable, able to survive in a wide range of temperatures and atmospheric conditions. They seemed to have evolved on a world that was actively trying to kill them. Their home planet has weather systems that would be classified as natural disasters on most worlds, reported xenobiologist Dr. Chimera. Storms with winds strong enough to destroy buildings. Temperature variations that would kill most known species. Seismic activity that regularly reshapes the landscape. Yet humans consider this normal. The psychological profiles were equally remarkable. Humans seemed to approach dangerous situations with curiosity rather than fear. They treated the unknown as something to be explored rather than avoided. This explained how they had crossed the dead zone so casually. To humans, it was just another interesting challenge. They display what can only be called aggressive optimism, reported Chief Psychologist Valen. They see problems as opportunities. They view hostile environments as places to expand into. This species appears to be motivated by curiosity and determination rather than caution. Captain Chen herself was a perfect example of human nature. She was middle-aged by human standards, with gray hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of years spent in dangerous situations. But her voice carried excitement and wonder as she described their long journey to find intelligent life. "We launched from Earth in 2387, she explained. "The trip was supposed to take 50 years, but we hit some navigation problems and had to take a longer route. Most of the crew has been in cryogenic sleep for the journey. We're just a skeleton crew to handle emergencies and course corrections." The idea that these humans had been traveling for over 70 years just to find intelligent life was deeply moving to many galactic species. It spoke of a dedication and curiosity that transcended normal survival instincts, but it also raised troubling questions. If humans were willing to spend decades crossing the galaxy just to satisfy their curiosity, What would they do when they learned about the vast civilizations that surrounded them? Would they want to explore every world? Would they try to establish colonies in regions that other species considered uninhabitable? The galaxy was about to find out. The human ship Endurance had emerged from the dead zone carrying not just an impossible crew, but the promise of change on a scale that no one was prepared to handle. As Captain Chen prepared to meet the galaxy's representatives face-to-face, one thing was certain. The universe had just become a much more interesting and unpredictable place. The diplomatic shuttle from the hegemony capital arrived at Frontier Relay Station 3 days after first contact. Ambassador Telvar, one of the galaxy's most experienced diplomats, had been chosen to conduct formal negotiations with the humans. The elderly Veltar had handled first contact situations before, but never with a species that had just rewritten the laws of physics. Captain Sarah Chen met the diplomatic party in the station's main docking bay. She was exactly what the psychological profiles had predicted, a confident, middle-aged human wearing a simple blue uniform. But seeing her in person was different from analyzing sensor data. She radiated a quiet competence that made even seasoned diplomats feel nervous. "Welcome aboard," Captain Chen said with a warm smile. "I'm sorry our arrival caused such a stir. We had no idea that region of space was considered dangerous." Ambassador Telvar studied the human carefully. After decades of diplomatic experience, he could usually read other species easily. But Captain Chen was unlike anyone he had ever encountered. She seemed genuinely pleased to meet them, showing no signs of deception or hidden agendas. "Captain Chen," Ambassador Telvar replied formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Hegemony, I welcome you to civilized space. Your journey through the dead zone has surprised many of our scientists." Captain Chen laughed, a sound that was somehow both alien and familiar. "Surprised? I guess that region really is more dangerous than we thought. We detected some unusual readings, but our ship handled it fine. The Endurance is built tough." The casual way she dismissed crossing the dead zone continued to astound everyone who heard it. Ambassador Telvar had seen the reports. Radiation levels that could cook a crew in minutes. Gravity fields that could compress matter into neutronium. Time distortions that could age someone to death in seconds. Yet this human treated it all as minor inconveniences. "Captain," Ambassador Telvar said carefully, "perhaps you could explain how your vessel survived conditions that have destroyed our most advanced warships?" Captain Chen considered the question seriously. "Well, our hull is made from compressed titanium steel alloy with carbon nanotube reinforcement. We've got magnetic deflectors for charged particles and gravity compensation systems for spatial distortions. Nothing too fancy, just solid engineering. The technical specifications she rattled off were impossible. Titanium steel alloys could not withstand the pressures found in the dead zone. Magnetic deflectors were useless against the exotic radiation that filled that region. Yet somehow, the humans had made primitive technology work where advanced systems failed." Dr. Kemara, the station's xenobiologist, was studying the human crew with fascination. "Captain Chen, our medical scans show that your crew has been exposed to radiation levels that should have been fatal. Yet you all appear to be in perfect health. How is this possible?" Captain Chen shrugged. "Humans are pretty tough. We evolved. On a world with high background radiation from solar flares and cosmic rays, our bodies can handle a lot more punishment than most species, I guess." This was another impossible statement. The radiation levels in the dead zone were thousands of times higher than anything a natural world could produce. No evolutionary process could prepare a species for such exposure. Yet the human crew showed no signs of radiation sickness or genetic damage. The mystery deepened when Captain Chen began describing Earth and human civilization. Their home world was located in a region that galactic surveys had written off as uninhabitable. The local star was unstable, producing frequent solar flares. The planetary system was filled with rogue asteroids and comets. Several gas giants created gravitational disturbances that should have made space travel impossible. Earth's had its challenges, Captain Chen admitted. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, magnetic pole reversals. But life finds a way, you know? Humans especially. We're good at adapting to tough situations. She spoke about global catastrophes, the way other species might discuss bad weather. Asteroid impacts that could destroy civilizations were just historical events to humans. Volcanic eruptions that could darken skies for years were things their ancestors had survived and learned from. How many humans live on Earth now? Ambassador Telvar asked. About 8.5 billion, Captain Chen replied, plus another 2 billion scattered across the colonies in our local system. We've got settlements on Mars, Europa, Titan, and a few asteroid mining stations. The numbers were staggering. Most galactic civilizations had populations in the millions or low billions, spread across multiple star systems. But humans had crammed over 10 billion individuals into a single dangerous star system and somehow made it work. The technical briefings that followed challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about space travel and engineering. The human ship used controlled nuclear fusion for power, a technology that most species had abandoned thousands of years ago in favor of more efficient quantum cores. But somehow, the humans had made fusion work better than quantum technology. We compress hydrogen plasma using magnetic fields and gravitational lensing, Chief Engineer Rodriguez explained to a group of stunned hegemony scientists. The reaction chamber can reach temperatures of over 50 million degrees. We get about 90% energy conversion efficiency. The specifications were impossible according to known physics. Magnetic confinement could not achieve such compression ratios. Gravitational lensing required massive energy inputs, yet the human ship clearly worked, and worked better than most advanced vessels in the galaxy. How do you achieve faster than light? Travel? Asked Dr. Velmus, the hegemony's leading expert on hyperspace technology. Chief Engineer Rodriguez grinned. We punch a hole in space-time using a controlled antimatter explosion, then surf the shock wave through higher dimensions. It's a bit rough, but it gets us where we need to go. The casual description of punching holes in reality left the scientists speechless. Antimatter explosions were among the most dangerous forces in the universe. Using them as a propulsion system should have been instantly fatal, but humans apparently did it routinely. As the days passed, more impossible details emerged. The human crew carried personal weapons that fired small pieces of metal at high velocity, primitive projectile weapons that should have been useless against modern armor. Yet their penetration and stopping power exceeded most energy weapons. In galactic arsenals, depleted uranium slugs accelerated by electromagnetic induction, explained Security Chief Martinez when asked about human weapons. They punch through most materials pretty easily. Simple, reliable, and effective. Even their food was impossible. Humans consumed organic compounds that would be toxic to most species. They drank a bitter liquid called coffee that contained enough stimulants to kill smaller life forms. They ate plant materials that required aggressive processing to make digestible. We're omnivores, explained Dr. Walsh, the ship's medical officer. Humans can eat almost anything organic. We had to be adaptable to survive on Earth. The planet doesn't make survival easy. The psychological profiles were equally baffling. Humans seemed to seek out dangerous situations for entertainment. They participated in activities that could cause serious injury or death just for the challenge. They called it sport. Rock climbing, skydiving, deep-sea diving, motorcycle racing, Captain Chen listed when asked about human recreation. We like to push our limits. Life's more interesting when there's a little risk involved. The idea of deliberately seeking danger for pleasure was completely alien to most galactic species. Survival instincts normally encouraged avoiding unnecessary risks, but humans seem to require danger to feel fully alive. Perhaps most disturbing was the revelation about other human ships. Captain Chen confirmed that multiple exploration vessels and colony ships were traveling through space, all equipped with the same impossible technology that had carried the Endurance through the dead zone. The colony ship aspiration should reach the Andromeda approach sometime next year, Captain Chen mentioned casually. They're carrying 50,000 colonists looking for a new world to settle. Hope they find something nice. The Andromeda approach was a region of space so hostile that even automated probes rarely returned. Gravitational anomalies, dark matter concentrations, and rogue black holes made it absolutely lethal to any known form of life. But humans were, sending 50,000 colonists there like it was a vacation destination. Captain, Ambassador Telvar said carefully, the Andromeda approach is considered one of the most dangerous regions in the galaxy. Perhaps we should warn your colony ship about the hazards. Captain Chen looked puzzled. Dangerous how? The long-range surveys showed some gravitational irregularities and high-energy phenomena, but nothing a good ship can't handle. The aspiration has even better shielding than the Endurance. Once again, humans were treating a region that terrified advanced civilizations as just another place to explore. Their casual attitude toward mortal danger was becoming a recurring theme. The more the galaxy learned about humans, the more impossible they seemed. They had evolved on a death world, built a civilization in a hostile star system, and developed technology that worked better than it should. They crossed lethal regions of space like they were taking a weekend trip. But perhaps most remarkable was their motivation. Humans had spent decades traveling through space not for conquest or resources, but simply to find intelligent life. They wanted to learn, to explore, to make friends with alien species. Their first question was always about trade and cultural exchange, not territory or military advantage. We've always wondered what else was out there, Captain Chen explained. Earth's a pretty small place compared to the galaxy. There must be so many different species, so many ways of thinking and living. We want to learn from everyone we meet. This genuine curiosity and goodwill was perhaps the most alien thing about humans. Most species approached first contact with caution, fear, or aggression, but humans seemed to view meeting aliens as the greatest adventure possible. As reports about the humans spread through the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some species were fascinated by these impossible beings who made the universe seem like a friendlier place. Others were terrified by creatures who treated certain death as a minor inconvenience. The military implications were staggering. If humans could build ships that ignored conventional hazards, what would their warships be like? If they sought out danger for entertainment, how would they behave in actual combat? If they had spread across multiple star systems despite living in the galaxy's most hostile region, how fast could they expand into civilized space? But the humans showed no interest in conquest or dominance. They wanted to trade, to learn, to explore. They asked endless questions about galactic civilization, technology, and culture. They offered to share their own knowledge freely. We've got some interesting developments in material science and energy production, Captain Chen offered. Happy to share anything that might be useful. That's what intelligent species should do, right? Help each other out? The casual offer to share technology that exceeded galactic standards was typical of human behavior. They seemed to assume that cooperation was natural and that knowledge should be freely exchanged. As the first formal diplomatic meetings concluded, Ambassador Telvar found himself facing an unprecedented situation. How do you negotiate with a species that treats the impossible as routine? How do you establish treaties with beings who might accidentally revolutionize your entire civilization? The humans had emerged from the dead zone and casually announced that the universe was full of friends they hadn't met yet. They had technology that worked better than it should, attitudes that defied survival instincts, and intentions that seemed genuinely peaceful. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of humans had begun, whether anyone was ready for it or not. 6 months had passed since the Endurance emerged from the dead zone, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. What started as impossible first contact had become a revolution that touched every corner of civilized space. The changes began small, but spread quickly. Human settlements appeared in regions that had been written off as uninhabitable for thousands of years. The scorched reach, where stellar radiation could melt steel, now hosted a thriving mining colony, called New Phoenix. The gravity wells, where spatial distortions had trapped ships for centuries, became a popular shipping route after humans simply flew through them like empty space. "They make it look so easy," muttered Captain Zolvan as he watched a human cargo hauler navigate through gravitational anomalies that would have crushed his ship. The hegemony officer had been assigned to escort human vessels through civilized space, but he was beginning to wonder who was protecting whom. The human cargo ship. Dancing Bear was typical of their civilian fleet. Built like a flying brick, covered in antenna arrays and sensor pods, it looked like something assembled in a junkyard. But its cargo hold contained materials extracted from worlds that no other species could even approach. Dancing Bear to escort. "Vessel," came the cheerful voice of Captain Murphy. "We're picking up some interesting mineral readings from that rogue planetoid. Mind if we take a quick detour to check it out?" Captain Zolvan checked his sensors. The planetoid was radiating energy levels that would be instantly fatal to most life forms. "Negative, Dancing Bear. That object is highly dangerous. Recommend maintaining safe distance." There was a pause, then laughter from the human ship. "Dangerous? Looks like a standard rare earth deposit to me. We'll just pop over and grab a few samples. Be back in an hour." Before Captain Zolvan could object, the Dancing Bear was already changing course toward the lethal planetoid. He watched in amazement as the human ship approached the radiation source without any apparent concern. Within minutes, they were deploying mining equipment and extracting materials that most species would need months of preparation to even detect. This casual attitude toward mortal danger had become the defining characteristic of human expansion. They established colonies on worlds with crushing gravity, built cities in the path of solar flares, and turned asteroid fields into recreational areas. What other species saw as obstacles, humans treated as interesting challenges. The economic impact was staggering. Rare materials that had been impossible to obtain were suddenly flooding galactic markets. Trade routes that had been abandoned for centuries were reopened by human merchants who ignored the hazards that kept everyone else away. Entire industries were being revolutionized by resources that only humans could safely extract. The economic disruption is unprecedented, reported Trade Minister Kexara to the Hegemony Council. "Human mining operations are producing materials we thought were extinct. Neutronium, crystallized dark matter, temporally stable isotopes. They're treating these substances like common metals." The technological implications were equally dramatic. Human engineering principles were spreading through galactic civilization like wildfire. Their primitive but effective approach to problem-solving was revolutionizing everything from ship design to medical equipment. Dr. Velmas, who had once dismissed human fusion technology as impossible, was now retrofitting hegemony vessels with human-designed power cores. "They achieve 98% efficiency with controlled fusion," he admitted reluctantly. "Our quantum cores only reach 85%. Their primitive technology outperforms our most advanced systems." The human approach to engineering was based on principles that most galactic species had abandoned long ago. They built things to be tough rather than elegant, functional rather than beautiful. Their ships could take tremendous punishment and keep operating. Their equipment was simple to repair and maintain. "Human tools are designed for worst-case scenarios," explained Chief Engineer Rodriguez during a technology exchange seminar. "We assume everything will go wrong and build accordingly. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we make sure our stuff keeps working even when it's broken." This philosophy was spreading to other species with remarkable results. Galactic engineers were learning to build redundancy into their systems. Ships were becoming more robust. Equipment failures were becoming less catastrophic. The careful, elegant designs preferred by advanced civilizations were giving way to human-inspired ruggedness. Medical advances were equally impressive. Human doctors had experience treating injuries and illnesses that would be instantly fatal to most species. Their surgical techniques were crude but effective. Their understanding of trauma medicine was centuries ahead of galactic standards. Humans regularly survive injuries that would kill any other known species, reported Chief Medical Officer Dr. Tim Lara. They have backup systems for their backup systems. If one organ fails, another takes over. If their primary circulatory system is damaged, secondary networks maintain blood flow. Their bodies are designed for survival in hostile environments. Human medical knowledge was revolutionizing treatment protocols throughout the galaxy. Emergency medicine was improving dramatically as alien doctors learned human techniques for dealing with massive trauma. Surgical procedures that had been impossible were becoming routine. But perhaps the most significant change was psychological. The human attitude toward danger and exploration was infectious. Species that had been cautious for millennia were starting to take risks again. Young beings from dozens of worlds were applying to join human exploration missions. "They make the impossible seem routine," said Cadet Nixara, a young Spirian who had joined the crew of the human exploration vessel Bold Horizon. "Captain Jones says there's no such thing as impossible, only expensive. If something seems impossible, you just haven't found the right approach yet." This optimistic determination was perhaps the most alien thing about humans. They approached problems with the assumption that solutions existed. They treated failure as a learning experience rather than a reason to give up. Their aggressive curiosity was inspiring other species to push their own boundaries. The dead zone itself had become a symbol of this transformation. What had once been the most feared region in the galaxy was now a busy trade route. Human ships crossed it regularly, treating the lethal radiation and gravity storms as minor navigation hazards. Other species were beginning to follow their example. Human freighter New Horizon requests clearance for dead zone transit, reported traffic controller Vextar at the Frontier Relay Station. They're carrying medical supplies to the new colony at Stellar's End. "Clearance granted," Commander Kelnara replied automatically. She still found it hard to believe that the dead zone had become just another shipping lane. 6 months ago, crossing that region had been considered impossible. Now it was routine. The transformation wasn't limited to dangerous regions of space. Human influence was spreading through every aspect of galactic civilization. Their music was becoming popular in nightclubs across civilized space. Their food was appearing in restaurants on a dozen worlds. Their sports were being adopted by species who had never understood the appeal of competitive physical activity. "Human baseball is surprisingly engaging," admitted Chancellor Mordoon of the Harmony Worlds. "The strategic complexity hidden beneath apparent simplicity appeals to our philosophical nature, and the concept of a home run has interesting metaphorical implications." Cultural exchange was flowing in both directions. Humans were eager to learn about alien arts, sciences, and philosophies. They absorbed new ideas quickly and found creative ways to combine them with their own approaches. The result was a burst of innovation that surprised everyone. Captain Sarah Chen had become an unofficial ambassador for humanity. She traveled throughout galactic space, meeting with leaders and scientists, sharing human knowledge and learning about alien civilizations. Her enthusiasm for exploration and discovery was legendary. "Every world teaches us something new," Captain Chen explained during a lecture at the Ethereal Collective's primary research facility. "Earth is just one small planet with one way of looking at the universe. Out here among the stars, there are thousands of different perspectives, different solutions to the same problems. We want to learn from all of them." This genuine curiosity and respect for other species had won humans many friends throughout the galaxy. Even former skeptics were beginning to appreciate human contributions to galactic civilization. Admiral Voss, who had once advocated destroying the human ship, was now working closely with human military advisors. Their tactical thinking is unconventional, but effective, he admitted. They approach warfare like problem-solving. If direct assault doesn't work, they try something else. If conventional tactics fail, they invent new ones. They're adaptable in ways that could revolutionize military strategy. The military implications of human expansion were still being debated in council chambers throughout the galaxy. Human ships were tough enough to survive in regions where conventional fleets would be destroyed. Their crews were skilled at improvisation and adaptation. Their technology was primitive, but surprisingly effective. But humans showed no interest in conquest or domination. They preferred trade to warfare, exploration to expansion. When conflicts arose, they usually tried negotiation. First, they seemed genuinely committed to peaceful coexistence with other species. Humans fight only when they must, observed General Cretal, who had spent months studying human military doctrine. But when they do fight, they fight to win. They're creative, persistent, and absolutely ruthless when protecting what they care about. Any species that threatens humanity or their allies would face a formidable enemy. The galaxy was still adjusting to the presence of humans, but most species had concluded that they were beneficial rather than threatening. Human colonies were becoming centers of innovation and trade. Human ships were opening new routes through previously impassable regions. Human knowledge was advancing science and medicine throughout civilized space. Perhaps most importantly, humans were bringing hope back to the galaxy. For too long, the various species had been content with what they had achieved. Exploration had slowed. Innovation had stagnated. The universe had seemed like a known quantity with few surprises left to discover. But humans treated the universe as an endless frontier full of wonders waiting to be found. Their enthusiasm was contagious. Their determination was inspiring. They made other species remember why they had reached for the stars in the first place. The humans have reminded us that the universe is still full of mysteries, said Elder Sekvar during a rare public address. They have shown us that what we thought was impossible may simply be unexplored. Perhaps it is time for all civilized species to push beyond our comfortable boundaries and see what lies waiting in the dark between stars. As the first year of human contact drew to a close, more human ships were arriving from Earth and the other colonies. The exploration vessel Pathfinder had discovered 3 new habitable worlds. The science ship Curiosity had made contact with a previously unknown species in the Outer Rim. The colony ship New Horizons had successfully established a settlement in the Magellan Void, a region thought to be completely empty. Each new arrival brought fresh surprises and challenges. Humans continued to accomplish things that galactic science said were impossible. They opened trade routes through black hole systems. They built colonies in the hearts of nebulae. They turned cosmic phenomena into energy sources. The galaxy that had once been divided into careful, cautious civilizations was becoming a place of endless possibility again. The human age had begun, and with it came a new understanding of what intelligent life could achieve when it refused to accept limitations. As Captain Chen prepared to return to Earth with news of galactic civilization, she looked out at the stars with the same wonder that had driven humanity to leave their home world in the first place. "The universe is so much bigger and more amazing than we ever imagined," she said, "and we've only just started exploring it." The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what humans would do next. Whatever it was, it would probably be impossible until they made it look easy.